Hello, everyone. How's it going? Happy Tuesday. For those that are logging on, welcome to another Talk Story Tuesday. I'm joined with Mia, Dr. Tara Lawal, Alinda Alec, and my
And
co-host, Ala. How y'all doing today?
stable if you're on Wi-Fi, try it. Or moving closer to it. Ooh,
Right. Technical difficulties, everyone. How are y'all doing?
Did she freeze?
I think she might have.
Oh no.
Okay. I'm gonna.
Well,
Maybe it's connection.
It might be. Okay.
guess while we wait for her to get on, we can get into if you have any
Yeah.
warm ups for us.
Yes. Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties, but happy Tuesday. Um, before we start, we're gonna talk. We're gonna do introductions. So, with my lovely guests today, if you can start with your name, what island or where you may be from, and what cultural traditions and practices surround childbirth in your community. So, go ahead and pass it to Mia.
Sweet. Hi, everybody. My name is Mia McFarlane. I'm Samoan. I'm previously with the health board, no longer, but happy to be back and share some of the knowledge I had collected while working with everybody and keep it flowing so I'm not just holding on to it. Um, and then I was trying to think of because I grew up in the States, so I've only seen what people do stateside, but culturally, like it's so important for folks to visit with the parents when they are pregnant and spend a lot of time with them, and elders will like pass on advice, and it's just a good time to spend time with family and make sure everything's going well. And then too, just having like baby showers are really big. I've been to a lot of really great ones where we'll have
Mhm.
really awesome baby showers, get together everybody's family on both sides, and then they bring their friends along, and it's a whole party for the baby to be celebrated coming into the world, which I really love.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mia. We'll go ahead and pass it to Alinda.
I have a question. What was the question again?
No, you're okay.
Oh,
So the question, it is
sorry.
simple, but what are the cultural traditions from your island or where you may be from that welcome in a newborn or like any practices that surround childbirth in your community? Any come to mind?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna introduce myself first.
Oh,
Yapoyala. My name is Alanda Ali, and I'm a martialist. I'm an L care navigator, and sometimes I really like to work with the mothers and Gabby's team and Tara
mm,
and Allah. And but I also enjoy my team too. They're the bomb, Diala and Clara. Yeah. Um, I want to welcome Mia. It's been a while. I've learned so much. She's my former boss. She's a cool boss, awesome boss. And Dr. Dara, thank you for coming and making us having this space. And Lika too. Shout out to Lika, my big boss. You're
yes.
out there. I'm kind of nervous as well. kind of,
Great.
and Kevin and everyone that is coming up into this life. But traditional, like I remember when I was growing up, There are some ladies that like to get their midwife and keep her at home. It's kind of scary for me. Sometimes I just my auntie liked to do that, and three of our kids were like she did it by herself in her room, and I just kind of be and sit outside and listen to the baby crying, and that's the more choice one. But after that, they bring like all these herbal stuff to drink. We believe that it will cleanse you, it will give you like energy and all that. And also there's midwife, and we also celebrate. It's really nice to celebrate, and we pray, and we come visit, all these family come visit and just pray and then just eat the local food together. But our tradition is they drink medicine so that they can get well, like well-being, and also like be strong. And also for the baby, they also shower. So that's part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for sharing. That's really beautiful. Like being able to heal the mom back up and just be there during their time, during her time. It's something similar to the Palauan culture. So I'm also Chamorro and Palauan, and so in our community we have this thing called the omangat, or it's kind of called the first birth ceremony. And so once a mom has given birth, um, depending on what village she's from, she goes through like either a couple day or couple weeks cleanse, and we use the herbs to steam her body and just build her body back up. And during that time, it's also the village and the family that takes care of the baby. So the motto of "it takes a village," it really does to build the mom back up and welcome in the newborn. And I'll go ahead and pass it to Dr. Tara.
Thank you. Aloha, everyone. I'm Dr. Tara Lawal. I am a trained midwife with the master's in midwifery and then a doctorate in family nursing. And so I have a birth center in South Seattle and Renton, um, where we do home birth center births, and help facilitate hospital births for people who need it. And um, Mia, thank you for being here. I remember when we did the listening groups that you're talking about, and how it really sparked the conversation in our community here in King County of why aren't people accessing prenatal care? And that was the topic. Like, we Pacific Islanders have the worst outcomes um, in in accessing prenatal care, early preventative care. A lot of stories of families who just come into the ER with no care, and they just come in pushing a baby. And so that sparked a huge question, and it really got me thinking, what are we missing? What is happening in our community? And really, ever since that listening group, that I really honed in on how we should change our own practices here in the Seattle area to be more inclusive and welcoming of the Pacific Islanders. And so, Alinda, thank you for being here. Alinda is like the gate. She opens the gate, the floodgates of people. Whoever is pregnant, Alinda's like, oh, I know somebody you need to come meet. She's like, oh, you need to come meet at the birth center. And so, Alinda, I'm just so grateful to have you here too, and to be able to ask these questions and to talk about why it's so important. Why is birth and pregnancy so important? As women in our culture. But not only that, women are the center of the family, right? And whatever mama says, that's what the whole family does. And I was reading some of the Native Hawaiian birth practices, and many of the Hawaiian women had multiple husbands. And I didn't realize this. And there was a hierarchy within who you would live with and which husbands. And when you have a baby, you are literally having a baby with ohana, anybody who has an umbilical cord, right? And so it really, these babies belong to the whole family. Um, and it's interesting because that's kind of how I was raised too. I have a big family. There's 9 children in my family. My grandma had 13 children, and they were all born uh, back at home in Hawaii. And my mom told me the story that my tutu mama and my grandpa would deliver the babies. So the husbands delivered the babies back then. And and then it makes sense in my life. My dad was the first midwife I ever met. So he delivered the last 3 babies in my family at home with just my mom and dad. And my mom learned about that home birth from another Polynesian family, and he had 12 children. And he said, I delivered all 12 of my children, just me and my wife. And she would go in the bathtub and deliver her babies in the tub. And my mom goes, I can do that. I delivered Tara myself, and I'm number 4. And so really it was just I've really been trying to unpack, why are we so afraid to deliver? Why are we so, what is holding us back? And so I hope that today, as we do this talk story, that we can kind of unearth the culture of where we come from, where we are, what is important that we bring to the table with us in the birth world. Like, what is important for us as birthing people that we want to take into the delivery room when we have our babies. So I'm really glad to have this group of people here. I wish Allah can come back on, because she also has a lot of experience with her own personal experience of delivering babies, her own babies here in the US.
Yes. For those that are logging on, Allah is right now behind the stage, but if when she has the time or if she's able to hop on or even put some comments in the chat, we love to hear her stories as well. But for today's topic, we're going to be talking about breathing issues on the mainland, and what are some challenges that come along with that. And so, as a community, what are some challenges our Pacific Islander pregnant moms face during childbirth and pregnancy here in Washington or even beyond Washington?
Mm-hmm.
As Tara mentioned, you guys had Mia and you have done some research a couple of years back, and like, what was that like?
Mia, do you want to tell us about, like, what was the study and what were some of the main takeaways?
Sure. So at the time, it was back, I want to say 2019, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
The Pacific Islander Health Board got some money together to do some research on why people in the community weren't accessing prenatal care. And then we kind of took that and said, okay, prenatal care is important, but like what about postnatal? Like, what happens after? Like, let's ask some questions around that. So we had included in our study questions for what was going on with prenatal care, what was their experience like giving birth in the United States, or even if they had births outside of the United States, what were the big differences there. And then we asked questions about, how were your providers, and then what was it like afterwards? How did you feel? What was follow-up like for you and baby? And like, overall, like, did you feel like the care that you got, if you got care, was adequate? Did you, like, what were the hurdles that you experienced during that whole time? And then too, like, if there was anything you could change, what would it be? And so we had asked dozens and dozens of parents to come and do these surveys with us and just tell us their stories. And we would do these focus groups. It was up to, I want to say we capped it off at usually 6 people. And we would bring them in a room and we would just share stories and share food and ask, how they were feeling about giving birth here. And so that, it came to light a lot of things that we knew, and then a lot of things that we didn't know about the experience of parents giving birth here in our community. And a lot of the big issues, like there are so many issues that I could rattle off, but like there are things like not being able to access like insurance and being worried about the costs that everything would bring, or not feeling like they could find a provider that they trusted, or providers just straight up not listening to them. That was a big one, is where providers would tell them, no, this is how you're going to do it. I'm right, you're wrong. They would tell them, like, don't even go near fish, don't even think about it. Like, you better give up rice because you're going to have gestational diabetes, things like that. And it was like everything that we know back home was essentially told, no, don't do that. That's all nonsense. Like, you're going to do what the doctor says. Or like, even a lot of parents would say that they would go see their provider and they would do everything they said, but then they'd get maybe 5 minutes with the provider and they wouldn't feel comfortable to ask questions about things that were going on. So it's kind of a big issue, the trust that people didn't have, or the lack of empathy from the healthcare teams that they were working with, where they just felt like they weren't heard, they weren't listened to. That was a huge problem. And then I'm curious, I think, Alinda, you came to a few of the focus groups, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's fair.
2019, I wasn't working yet.
Yeah, but I wonder that maybe I was at the time, I feel like
Maybe it's Esther.
maybe. But I just remember, like, we had done them we tried different community groups. We brought in dads who were like asking questions. That was another big thing, is like the post birth care. Like, there was a big flip because that postpartum depression has been very real in the community, and a lot of people are deeply, like, they just don't know, and people tell them it's completely normal. And that's we see the same things with mental health. Like, people in the community will tell them that that's fine, like, you just need to work it out, either like with you or in God, or things like that. Something else is not right. Like, it's not, like, it's totally normal for these things to happen to parents, but they just don't understand. And so that people were feeling very isolated because they didn't know who to talk to, and their providers weren't asking. Like, once you had the baby, everything was about the baby, and you were pushed to the side as a new parent. So that was a big issue that came up too, was just the isolation that they felt in birth.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. Postpartum depression, like you said, isn't really talked about in the community, and most specifically our community. You always
I think that was the most surprising thing that I heard too. Like, it was heartbreaking to hear the stories. Like, you're surrounded by family. You have your parents there, you have your sisters, your cousins, and you're in your own cave, like, suffering. It's very real, and you can't complain about it because you have a healthy baby, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, well, I want to be happy that there's a baby, but I'm, one, so tired, and two, breastfeeding is so hard, and there's so many challenges to having a new baby, and it's really hard to enjoy it in the moment, and your hormones are all over the place. And so it was in every group that that topic came up, of how hard the postpartum support was, how to heal from that. And there's trauma. There's like some real trauma from giving birth and then having a really hard time on the other side. And there's a lot of us who've had C-sections and had emergency C-sections where you think everything's okay, or you go in for an induction and you're like, you go in healthy, and then all of a sudden you have an infection and you're having major abdominal surgery, right? And it's just, it flips so quick. And so, yeah, that was the part that was like, just that really, I really had to take a pause and understand, what are we what are we doing? What are we? How are we going to respond to this? How do we change? And I'll tell you, it's we don't have the answer. We're not we're not closer today than we were 4 years ago when we heard this. It's still. I feel like it's even more challenging post pandemic,
Yeah.
that pregnancy has gotten harder and access to resources are even more challenging. Alinda, can I ask you, because you kind of, this is your world where you see so many people who need rides. They need to know, who do I go to? I'm 20 weeks pregnant, 5 months pregnant, and they still haven't had an ultrasound or seen a doctor. Alinda, tell me, like, how does that happen in your community? How do you find everybody like this that are searching?
Um, there's a lot of need in my community, and I've been going out with these girls that are pregnant, especially the teen ones and teen adults. But there's so many challenges. Translation, being shy, because we are shy people. We don't talk, and sometimes we think it's okay not to like share our emotion and say, "Oh, I need help. It's me. I really need help." But you just keep hiding it. And I just want everybody to know that it's good to let it out, because it will be you sick inside, and also they need help with right. They need help with educating themselves where to go, and also like what is the right thing to do, what do they need to do, and especially with postpartum and also breastfeeding, they don't know like where to latch on the right position for the baby, their need. And also like after postpartum, they will say that they can do it, because in our culture we say there's a word that said I'm a like a ngakare. That means I'm a woman, I can take care of this baby, I can. But no, it's not good to like keep it in. It's good to let it out, seek like counseling, seek professional like advice, seek the doctor, seek everybody. You can come to us, call our number, call Tara. She have a food center, and she's there. She has doula, and also we're here for you. And there's so many challenging and issue with my community. And I think with the classes that we are doing it, PI is doing it, it's really helpful. One of the things that is helpful is educating them, and that's the most important thing that I think we can help each other with, is educating these pregnant women of what is out there for them, like and then also like help them be educated that they don't have to hide their feelings. There's help out there, and don't be shy, and do it for yourself and your baby to be like stay healthy and all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. It's it's a it's a lot that our community is going through, and the biggest thing that we can do as a community is educate and advocate for our birthing parents. Um, and just to highlight some questions that we had in the chat. Um, Hello to Diana and Janine. Thank you for coming on. And then I also have some comments from Lika. Going back to the research that um, we, Dr. Tara and Mia, had done, it's the only prenatal research by and for Pacific Islanders that were here on the mainland. And then there are similar themes regardless of islands. That was racism, access to providers, Indigenous people issues and resources. Um, but yes. Um, but transitioning to our next question, um, what are some birthing issues you see in our Pacific Islander community, both here on the mainland and back home on the island? If any stories that you've heard from community, we want to highlight those today. And also for anybody that's watching right now, please feel free to put any questions or even your experiences in the chat.
I think something, and I'll just say this as a healthcare provider, we want to see you early. Like I actually like to see people in first trimester, and oftentimes when you go to the OB or to a doctor, they'll say, "Oh, you just peed on a stick. Congratulations." They'll get you an ultrasound, and then they say, "Let's set you up for an appointment in 12 weeks."
Mm.
And they say 12 weeks because you're outside of first trimester, and they don't have to deal with all the hard part of miscarriage management, of nausea, vomiting, dehydration. Like the first trimester is so rough on our bodies. And maybe that's why, some people just don't know they're pregnant. And it just feels like they have the flu. Um, but once you find out that you're pregnant, please just go see somebody, go see a doctor. You can always come to the midwives with us. We we want to help you. And sometimes that first trimester is really hard. It's hard to get through the nausea and the vomiting, and the headaches. And you don't want to eat anything. A lot of people actually lose weight in that first trimester. And so don't suffer in silence. Like, don't suffer. There's people out here that can help you. And um, I'm Alinda, you see this all the time. People don't come to care until 5-6 months into their pregnancy. Like after they're showing, that's when they're like, oh yeah, I should probably go see somebody. What about you, Alinda? What issues are you seeing? Oh, did we lose you?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay. So compared to the islands, I know that we don't have insurance and the life there is very slow and everybody tend to go slow and wait until the last minute and they think everything is there and back home not everything is there. We
Yeah.
don't have the healthcare like we do here and we have insurance and everything and sometimes like I think there's negligence back home and not a lot of things that are you mean like the mother can meet her needs there, but over here is the same. And I think we need to stop bringing practices like that because it's really dangerous to wait until you're in your third trimester and you have to have insurance. You have to
Yeah.
be prepared. This is the mainland. You have to prepare ahead of time. Get your insurance. There is free insurance for you and your baby. There's a lot of help out there. These like WIG and like public health, free testing, and also like all these things that you need to know about caring for your baby inside and check up with the doctor. It's very important for you. You never know if you have diabetic and then
Yeah.
what's going to cause your baby the time that you're going to the hospital without insurance, without even knowing like what's going on in your body. And the doctors there, they don't even also know about you, but they don't have the record. You never go to see any doctor before putting your pregnancy. And it's really dangerous. And it's also really important that you, as a pregnant mother, as a pregnant woman, you need to take care of when you know that you are sick. It's really good and very important for you to inform yourself about like being pregnant and taking care of your body, what to eat,
Yeah.
and yeah, and also like how can you take care of your baby while you're carrying it? It's really dangerous too, and we just need to inform us ourselves, women, that we have to stay healthy and educate ourselves and go see the doctors right away.
Hmm.
Go see the doctors right away. So many of us we go to the doctor during our like keeping at the time that you're gonna keep birth. That's the time you're like, okay, next month is my due date, I have to go see the doctor. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
even a lot of work for the doctor when you go to, like keeping for that. It's not good.
You know what I've
Mm.
noticed too, Alinda, is when they come late, then their body hasn't been maintaining the pregnancy the best it can, because these little babies, they are smart and they are survivors. They're built to survive in your body, so they suck all the nutrients that they need in order to grow, which leaves the mom really diminished. The mom is exhausted. So when you see a pregnant mom who is always taking a nap, who can barely keep, her dishes, who can't take a shower, moms that are really struggling, something is very wrong with them. It's not that they're lazy. Don't ever call a pregnant woman lazy. Their baby is sucking every piece of them out. And so, Alinda, you'll bring people to us. By the time they come to us, their iron levels are so low. They're severely anemic. Um, and then you look at their past history. They've been anemic for all their pregnancies, which means they never bounced back after they had their last baby. And so they come into this new pregnancy very sick, and so now we have a sick mother who's trying to have a baby and grow a healthy baby, and she can't. She grows a very low weight baby. She has preterm birth, which is the baby is born before 37 weeks. So then that baby is going to be tiny, 3 pound, 4 pound, 5 pound babies. And that's not even normal for us, right? For Pacific Islander women, we have 8 pound, 9 pound babies. So when we have these early babies that are really little, something is really wrong. And we are at higher risk for losing that baby in the first year. Our babies are dying more than white women's babies, more than the black women babies, more than Asians, more than the Mexican babies. Our babies are dying and we don't talk about it. And that's what's so scary. And it's because they weren't healthy to begin their pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't go and get care. How we got to give them the nutrients. We got to help you to have everything healthy in order to grow a healthy baby. um, and you also brought up another good issue, Alinda. You said if you're pregnant, then you get free Medicaid. So there's a lot of people who are uninsured, and so when they find out they're pregnant, they're afraid because they don't know where to go or what to do. But once you're pregnant, you actually qualify for Medicaid, regardless of your status, regardless of where you're from. Alinda knows how to sign you up. I know how to sign you up for Medicaid. So I really hope that you can tell your friends and family that if you're pregnant, you automatically qualify, and that you can have your baby with midwives or at the doctor's office or at the hospital. Like, you have lots of options here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was an important one, because one of the challenges that we heard from a lot of people was just with their providers in general. Like, they were struggling to find people who they could trust and who they felt like were really trying to help them through the process, not just like, oh, here's another person.
Oh,
And so people would say, like, they'd go to these doctors, and that, like you were saying, like, they would schedule them 12 weeks out because it was too early, and they'd be told, oh, get out of here, like, you're fine, like,
yeah.
take a prenatal vitamin, you're good, and just not taking the time. So that's one of the reasons, like, these lives and finding resources is so helpful, is because you can find those providers that really do care and will spend the time, like Tara will, just making sure everything's good. But, like, there was a lot of people that just said, the doctor dismissed them all the time and said everything was fine. And
Yeah.
like, we were seeing that too. Like, you brought up C-sections. Like, so many folks are having C-sections, and a lot of folks too identified that they would have C-sections maybe for their first kid and want to do a vaginal birth the next time, but the doctor was like, no, sorry, too risky, you're going to have another C-section, instead of, you know, helping them weigh the pros and cons of their own care and what happens to their own body.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal to find these providers and identify people who will take care, like, even if you have someone to help advocate with you and for you, whether or not you go to a midwife or whether or not you have a doula, somebody that can help along that process, because it's exhausting growing a human, and then on top of it you have to argue with doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're there to help you.
yeah, they're supposed to be, at least, but
But yeah, I mean, like reading what you guys have mentioned and hearing stories from the moms that are in our group, whenever they see their healthcare provider, it always seems rushed, that it's like a transactional kind of thing. Like you're at the drive-thru and you just want to get in and out. And that's not what seeing your doctor or your provider should be like. But yeah. I also want to highlight some questions that are in the chat. From Christine Gail Kaisan. They had mentioned that I have 5 children that lived. I suffer from severe psoriasis, and for each and every pregnancy, my skin condition cleared completely. And that's how I realized that I was pregnant. After my first child, my period was a few days late. Mind you, my period was very regular, but anyway, my body changed, and that's how I knew of my pregnancy.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a great story. And they also commented again, for me, my body told me everything I needed to know. Like calcium depletion was crazy. My teeth, my bones, ECT. So when they crave things like milk or orange juice or certain nuts, they regained their health, their calcium. They did little things like making a frozen drink made of milk and orange juice, which was good and nutritious.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That's so amazing. That's the best kind of pregnancy test you take, is like, oh, wow, my skin feels like I'm glowing.
Yes. We love these comments, so please, again, share your experience, your birthing experience, or if you have any questions, please comment. But yes, sorry everyone. There's another question that we brought up is how can healthcare providers better support and understand the needs of our Pacific Islander community during pregnancy, during childbirth, and even postpartum?
Is that from a healthcare provider? Is that question from?
Oh, no, my apologies. That was from us.
Oh, okay. So say it one more time.
Yeah, of course. So the question that we brought up was, how can healthcare providers better support and understand our needs as a community throughout pregnancy, childbirth, and even postpartum?
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, I think Lika brought up a really great point earlier about racism that we saw, and like the various ways it'll show up in the birth world for our community, whether it's, and these are like all things that we had heard from community, is like people would go see a doctor and they'd be like, oh, it's gonna be a big baby, definitely gonna be a football player or something like that, and just make wild assumptions about, you know, the future of a child before it's even born, or like even ignoring questions that people have and saying you're gonna have another cesarean, or you're just, oh sorry, we're definitely it's definitely an emergency now, you're definitely gonna have a cesarean at this point, like instead of explaining what's happening because they think we're naive and won't understand. versus instead, taking care of their clients, making sure that everything's okay and that they totally understand the medical procedure, the very serious one that's about to happen. And that, just checking that racism, checking assumptions about us and the cultures, understanding that, like I know, Tara, you said this on a different live, like you can have some fishes. Not all fish are good, but some are fine. But doctors will say, oh, no, no fish, sorry. But that's, for some people, that's an integral part of their diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Or like they're like, oh, don't, like I was saying earlier, don't have rice. Instead, like, educating and helping people understand, because these are things like you're gonna have a good hard time avoiding them, right? But instead, like trying to help workarounds or trying to understand your patients and where they're at, and not totally kicking our cultural foods to the door, but trying to find ways to fit them in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for the healthcare provider to understand others, just to serve us with heart, you know, caring, and like be honest with what they're doing. Just like what Mia said, like racism, there's a lot of encounter with that. And like when you come to help others, it's from your heart, and like you want to you want your patient to meet what they need, and with care. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
I also think like you get to be picky. You don't have to take the first doctor that you meet. If you don't gel with them and you don't like they're not listening to you, or what I cannot stand, and this happened this week with my son, that the doctor or the provider stared at the computer the whole time, typing at the computer, charting, and then would look at me and then back to the computer. And I'm like, hello, how are you going to establish a relationship with us? Like, you can't even look him in the eye or ask him a question, and he's totally not interested. If you're looking at your computer, he's not interested. So if you don't like that person, the provider, they don't gel with you, they're not listening, go find somebody else. You have every right at any time in your pregnancy to find somebody else and find that person that will listen to you. Ask your friends, ask for referrals from family members that have had babies recently. And check it out. You deserve that.
That's so real. I just, like, I didn't even think about that, but I was thinking about like my doctor now and how like he would do that where he just typed the whole time. But
Yeah.
when I take my niece to the doctors, every doctor we've seen, like they've just been hyper focused on her
Mm-hmm.
and like focused on what she's doing and talking to us, and that like I don't even see them chart when we're in the room. So
And
that's
yeah,
very
I also like experienced that where I take my kid and they just talk to them, my kid, and they're not looking at me, and I don't know if they cut on my answer because they're little. They need to. I'm their mother. Yeah, and even myself, I will just look at them and say, "Do they understand me?" When I was pregnant, I will go there, and so I'm gonna try to get their attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will say, "I think you're not getting me. I'm here. I need the right answer." That's what I do. But
Yeah.
with my kid, I'm like, I don't get it. Why do they talk to them? Like they have to get the answer, like, yeah, from them. But to explain things, they're not looking at me. But and I don't know if my little ones they understand what they're saying. So
Yeah.
that yeah,
Um, Thank you all. I can agree. And even with the comments, they can also agree. Ala had said, I get so intimidated when the doctors do that. Like, you don't really feel heard and you don't really feel seen by your provider.
Yeah.
And then another comment from Christine is, if they had more medical professionals of color, I believe that it would change tremendously.
Mhm.
White doctors are more for white people, and most of them will not understand, um, and they don't have as much patience as communities like us do
Yeah.
to our needs.
But I have a question. Can like someone in my community go and then complain about them? Who do they complain about them or report that? Because that's not good to the. Is there any like an office that they can report or like complain to that about that doctor or?
Yeah. Yeah. It depends. You could complain at the level of the provider. So I've done it before. I hate to admit it, but I've like had to complain because I didn't get my needs met, and I've been at this doctor's office for 10 years. So I like this doctor's office, and it's the first time they ever messed up, and I was so upset because it was stopping me from doing my clinical work. And all I needed was I just needed a blood draw. And
Mhm.
and they refused to give it to me and told me to come back, and it was my third time coming back, and I was just so upset. So I just demanded to see the medical director. And I said, "I'm going to wait." And so I waited and I told her what happened. And because of the feedback, they changed the whole policy, and made it so much easier for everybody else. So that's one thing I would do is like complain at that next level. And then if nothing happens, then take it to, you can take it to the Department of Health. You can always complain against their license, but if they're going to be in your community, then you want to make sure that they get corrected at that place. So always ask for the medical director. And the place I go to has multiple locations. So if I needed to complain past the medical director, you can go to the next level, and you just go to the website and complain to their board. Like, and you can make they everybody has a way to make formal complaints. And I'll be honest, I'm the executive director at my clinic, and I love to receive complaints directly. And so when people give me complaints, that's how I can make change. That's how I can figure it out. Maybe that provider shouldn't be working for us. I won't know unless you tell me, right? I'm not in the visits. I don't know what it looks like. And I don't know what your experience has been. And so if people give that information directly to me, I take that very seriously.
Yeah. There's power with our words, and even agreeing with Allah, you also agrees is I think we should let them know first. Hello, could you please talk to me? And then even another comment from Christine is I've experienced that happening and told that doctor to make a really Ike's notes, sorry, for the other doctors so I don't have to repeat myself if I'm not able to see them. And it's best to be detailed when the patient is seeing a team of interns. It's best to see a doctor and not a student.
Yeah. You can always say no to a student.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, or you can say no. It's
Yeah.
your care. Like, you have a say in what happens in your care. So if anything feels wrong or you don't want it to happen, you have the right to say no.
Hmm. And going back to, or touching back on you have the right to say no, for the community members that are pregnant and they receive care, like, do they have that kind of, I don't want to say chance to say no, or do they feel pressured to follow the doctor's orders?
I would say there is a lot of pressure in not knowing of your
Mhm.
rights as a patient in the community, and that was one of the things we kept hearing, is that they were too scared to say they didn't want something to happen because they didn't want something bad to happen, or they didn't want the provider to be mad or kick them out, things like that. But but it is like completely legal for you to say no to anything, unless it's, I think maybe you passed out medical emergency, then it's a little different. But that's kind of a big thing, is like having an advocate. If you're not able or in a place to advocate for yourself in a way that feels safe for you, like that's why I was saying earlier, like bring someone with you that you trust. I know you've done lives on doulas can help advocate for you in that way too. But yeah, just having a partner with you through all that, whether it is your actual partner or like a family member or a doula, things like that, like someone with you that can help you through the process too, if you're not in a place to do all that advocating for yourself. Because like I was saying, it's exhausting. Having a baby is exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you all for sharing. We really enjoy these comments that you all are chiming in and sharing your experiences. But yeah, there's even Alla had commented, Dr. Tara, thank you for saying that. Great job, Mia, for clarifying. And Mia, can you touch on the study and what you helped put together?
Yeah, I'm happy to go over that one more time. So like I was saying at the beginning of the live, the Pacific Islander Health Board had gotten money together back in 2020, I think it might have been 2019, right before the pandemic hit, just to do research on why the community wasn't accessing prenatal care at the time, and what are the recommendations we would have to change that. And so we had done the project, mostly based in King County. We tried to like push it a little bit into other counties at the time, but it was King County money, so a lot of it was based out of King County, where I know like not a whole ton of our community lives anymore. But we had essentially done these small focus groups talking to community members about what their experience was with prenatal care, postnatal care, and like overall how their pregnancy went and how they felt about it.
I think
so
it was about 6 to 8 focus groups.
Yeah, something like that.
And we targeted like the north end, south end, King County. Did we do a Fijian group, a Marshallese group, and then I can't remember.
Just I think the rest of the group ended up being more mixed, just whoever was available. We did try to get fathers involved towards the end.
Yeah.
Just to have their own focus group to get those ideas. But yeah, so we just asked them a bunch of questions and collected those stories. And have used those for a lot of different projects and recommending, what are some things like the healthcare industry can change, and what are things that we can do to educate the community. So a lot of the work that PI Health Board does now is based off of what we had learned during that period about what the community really needs. And it was a lot of education and understanding like what your rights are and what the resources are that we know about, and just being able to find the best care available. So like we but kind of change the path that our community members have been taking, and make it so, we don't have the highest infant mortality rate. And then we have these amazing birth outcomes that other communities are having for our children and for our parents that are birthing, so that, we're just not getting the same resources and care that other communities were getting. So we wanted to highlight that. And yeah.
Thank you, Mia. And then going back to the comments again, Christine also commented, most definitely having someone you trust with you if you are new to motherhood, going to your appointments, being another set of eyes.
Yeah, and that's why I always say, like, you can bring other family members, or I know there's folks in the community that moved here without family, and it's just maybe you and your partner, and so having friends, or even looking into like doula programs or childbirth education programs where you can get someone to come with you who knows more about how to navigate the system, because that can be a huge barrier, especially if you're new over here and don't know people and don't have that support system yet built up.
Mm. Alinda, in your community, is that something that you see or something that you do? Bringing a family member or a friend?
Yes, we do that, and we also can help them or work. They can call us, and we have, nice doulas, and also with Tara,
Mm.
and I'm. They know me well, so I'm like their slave. So they always call me, Linda. This is okay. No, just kidding. But yes, they trust us, and it's really important to build a relationship so that community can trust us. Yeah.
That just reminded me of another. There was one barrier, so the translation barrier, because they won't certify certain Pacific Island languages. And I just, yeah, that reminded me that that was something we'd advocated for, because they wouldn't let, like, unless it was back, especially during COVID, they wouldn't let family, or like anyone that wasn't family back. And so they also didn't have translators for certain communities. And so if you wanted a translator, you had to bring in someone from the community who wasn't certified, because they can't get certified. And people were having to tell doctors, like, oh, this is my sister or cousin or something like that, because they wouldn't be allowed back otherwise. And I'm curious, Linda, if that ever happened to you where you were told to not come in. But that was kind of a big deal. We had community members that were like, yeah, I had to pretend to be this person's sister just so I could translate during their medical appointment so that they would get the best care.
Anytime it's an emergency, I just pretend I'm their auntie. I'm sorry if I'm saying this. It's a secret, but it really helps because
No, and so
it's
that's the
really,
thing, is like
yeah,
that it shouldn't have to be that way. Like, you shouldn't have to
yeah,
lie to get someone good care, you know?
yeah, that's right. But yeah, sometimes my clients or our clients that call us, we can help them through the phone, and also like sometimes when it's holiday or sometimes we have our day off on Fridays, they come and call me to take them, and then they tell them that I'm authorized to help them with translation, and that really helps. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. But we are slowly approaching the end of our live. Um, if there's any other comments in the chat or any comments from our guests before we close tonight's live. And Ala, if I know you might be behind the curtain, but if there's anything that you want to share, um, we'll go ahead and add you on if you like. You smile, so I think I'm gonna add her on. There we go.
Hi, Ala.
Hey everyone, great job tonight. What's some powerful golden nuggets that you guys have? That is so amazing to have interactions also from some of our moms in the community. That is really amazing. Thank you, Mia, for touching on that study, because you know what? Hardly anybody knows that, we did a study, but we need to share that knowledge with them. So coming from a young person like yourself, and then you're not a mom, it's really enlightening for us to know that, the heart to do that and touch on that. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Tara. You are always my favorite doctor. So, and with Alinda's community, but you are always my favorite doctor.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much. Yeah, I know. Thank you, Gabby. Great job tonight. We wanted to thank you all. Since I come in, Gabby introduced, and since I came in late, Samantha introduced, and since I came in late,
Hmm. Oh no.
Hello, we're losing you.
Breaking up. If that's okay. No, okay. That's okay. Um, but I mean, I appreciate having Ala on. She's kind of like my backbone, the behind the scenes, and even now. So thank you, Ala, for being here, and thank you to our guests and for taking the time tonight, and people that are watching taking the time tonight. We hope you were able to get some golden nuggets, like Ala said, and some words of wisdom from our community leaders and community members. We also just want to let you know that we offer, like some of us have said, we offer services here at the Pacific Islander Health Board. So if you're ever in need of health insurance enrollment, our healthcare navigator, Alinda, is happy to help sign you up as long as with everybody else. So, and we also have food stamps or SNAPS enrollment. So they're also able to sign you up. We're kind of a one-stop shop. And even for us with the Baby and You program, we have an upcoming childbirth education class this February, actually this Thursday. So if you are interested and want to sign up, give us a call or visit our website, and we'll be happy to sign you up and also connect you with, like they mentioned, doula, midwife, and lactation services because you deserve the best care as a mom to be. But yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you guys.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Bye bye. Thank you.